So today when we do microcurrent, what I like to explain to my clients is how they're going to feel and the effects of microcurrent. Microcurrent works with the natural electrons of the body, so you will get sensations and you will get stimulation from your electrons, which are telling the nerves to tighten and tone the muscles of the skin. So when you're in the mouth area, you can get a little bit of taste change, pH balance changes in that mouth, a little bit more salivation. Around the eyes, you can get little mini flashing lights, almost like little lightning bolts, I tell people, very minor, and things that they want to be aware of, all completely normal. In the forehead area, you can get a little bit of like a tapping sensation, or somebody's playing with your hair, kind of feels like your hair is just being wafted a little bit. So all very normal sensations and all things you want to make sure your client is aware of before starting, because it is working with your natural electrical current. So when we do the microcurrent machine, you're going to want to turn it on, and you're going to adjust from the facial gloves over to the bio probes by selecting 1. You're going to hit it twice, so you go from facial to body to bio. We're always going to be on bio pretty much. Select 2 would be brighten. Water is to exfoliate, which would help with like melia. Brighten and water together are going to do tightening and exfoliation. We stay on just brighten because that's all about tightening and toning the muscles. You can bump your time up to however much makes you feel comfortable, because the machine makes no indicator that it's off. It's usually about 25 to 30 minutes per treatment, so I start at 15 for my first, and then 10 for my next. So you can do whatever feels comfortable for you. You're going to turn the intensity level, which is just going to be up and down here, up to wherever your client is at within their series or their process. We always start at 2 on their very first, and then we work our way up from there. So the second treatment, they'd be on 3, third, 4, and so on. You always want to make sure your client is comfortable at whatever level that we're at. So that's very important. From there, you just press start and you're ready to go. So to start our microcurrent treatment, we're going to start with cleansing the skin. I'm going to bring it all in the décolleté area, everywhere we're going to work. Nice little pH balance cleanser. I take my small pads and remove. You can always flip them over and redo a pass. And you can always redip them in your warm water bowl if you have somebody with a lot of makeup on, or I just like to really make sure I'm getting all that cleanser off the skin. You don't want to leave it hanging out. And any little areas that it might be kind of trapped in the corners of the mouth, corners of the nose. So you're going to go ahead and warm up the gel, kind of manipulating it around the warm stone. And then we're going to go ahead and apply that gel, a nice thick layer. I start in the neck area and wherever you're going to be working. So we do avoid that thyroid, but you want it to be nice and thick because the gel will kind of dry over time, because it is a water and glycerin base. So it's not bad for the skin. It's going to be very beneficial for the treatment. And this, you use gel because it is going to allow the electrons and the electrical current that the microcurrent gives off to really adapt to the skin better. So a nice thick layer all over that neck area. And I don't bring the gel too high up on the face because, like I said, it will start to dry. So you kind of just want to go into like the cheek, right around the under eye. We'll apply it in the forehead after we're done with the lower portion of the face. And you can go back and add your gel whenever you feel necessary. If it's, some clients are more dry than others, so they might be really absorbing that gel faster. Some people, depending on how thick you apply, there's many different factors. So just always being aware client to client. You can adjust your machine to wherever you need it, wherever you're comfortable with it. Make sure your time is at the right time, your settings are on the right settings. Go ahead and start. And then I always am very aware of my cords and your stance. Now we'll start with the small probes. We'll start at this lower quadrant on the right hand side, really dragging up. And you can see these necklines down here. You want to make sure that you're really engaging in with those. So kind of getting in the right where the neck meets the shoulder. We're going to drag up for at least 6 to 8. You can start with 6 as a general rule of thumb. And then we're going to pause after that 6th, and we're going to chisel out that jawline by pinching and holding where the ear is. We call it a pinch and a hold. You're really not pinching the skin, you're just holding. In certain areas it can kind of look like it's a pinch, so that's why we describe it as such. Really engaging all the lines of the neck here. Eliminating or preventing. And as I start to get closer to that thyroid, I become a little bit just more aware of my placement and really make sure that you're avoiding that area. Especially with women, thyroid is a big factor. To get directly under the chin without engaging the thyroid, you can just go right under where the chin would, kind of just start. So you are tightening and toning that little bit of area where we have a little bit of looseness under the neck. And then a pinch and hold. Depending on the client, you might want to pinch and hold here. Here, it really just is all on their facial form and the shape, whatever is going on with that individual person. So same exact thing on the left-hand side. We're just going to drag up, meet to that ear. Sometimes people have a little bit more going on, like meat-wise, so you want to kind of drag up past that ear. Some sides are different from one side of the face to the other, so you just want to be aware of, again, your client and what's going on with them personally. She's got a little bit, maybe she sleeps on this side because she has a little bit more fine lines that are kind of in this area where the neck meets the shoulder. So you can kind of get those engaged as well and really drag past. Whatever is going to tighten and tone and really chisel out that jawline the best. I'm going to go ahead here. And you can see that I'm like really lifting as I get past the neck, and whatever skin, extra skin is coming up, I'll reground that probe to be lifting and tightening and holding that. So you get a really good visual of that here. After you finish in the neck area, you can do little drags actually as a third round. So that was kind of just all going upward. You can do little chin drags to the corners here. Also, you can take your probe here and then go downward and really re-drag all of those muscles. So there's 3 different ways you want to work each area of the face. We went upward, now we're going downward, and you really are just going to follow that same exact pattern that we did on the one side to the other. Dragging downward here. You can do this for the full 6, you can do it just for 4, whatever you feel suits your client best. You could also do little angled drags up to the ear. So I like to work the area 3 times. If you're just starting out, you might just get the 1 time, a really good pass. So just so you know that there are different ways to work and tighten the tone all areas of the face. After moving on from the neck completely, you can kind of just, again, say bye, give them a little drag under the chin, and then we'll go right into the top of the chin on the center of the face here. And I like to go ahead and just kind of pull away. You can go up in a little circle as well. The circle does get a little bit more difficult, especially mouth shapes are all completely different. But you do want to make sure that you're working all areas of the mouth. So really just dragging there, and then I like to pull away. Any sensations, Beck? Okay. This is an area where they will experience a little bit more stimulation, especially on a higher intensity. So the taste change might be really there. The prickling sensation that I didn't really mention at the beginning. Throughout a whole microcurrent series or process, one treatment alone, you can have a little prickling sensation. That's totally normal. It's just those electrons working with the body, telling the muscles to tighten and tone. So really just doing little circles here. Becky's mouth does drag downward a little bit here. You can see that there's coming down, so we want to really counteract that. You can hold on the one side and drag up and around. The mouth is a circular muscle, so you want to make sure that you're going in the same direction that the muscle is internally. Really fighting those smile lines. Once we're finished in the mouth area, we're going to go ahead and work the cheeks. I kind of like to just give another one of those under the chin starters, and then going right onto the chin and under the bottom lip, and really passing through that smile line, pulling up on that corner of the mouth, all while working the cheek area at the same time. This really is working the whole lower face. And you can make them nice and slow drags. You can go a little bit quicker, whatever feels comfortable for you. The next area of the cheek will work. I like to go right in that corner of the mouth, and you can see I kind of flipped my probe over there because the cotton balls, they like to get, the cotton swabs, they like to get a little hairy, and you don't want your client to be thinking that they have hair dragging on them. As I am working this corner of the mouth and pulling upward, I'm also slightly contouring right underneath that cheekbone, you can see, to really give a nice lift to the cheek. Becky's got good cheekbones, so we're definitely going to work that area. Cover a little bit more of what she's already got. And then I tend to switch. I'll go ahead and ground my probe that was not grounded, and then we'll switch. We're going to go right above that top lip, working right in that smile line, right in the crevice here of that nose crevice to the cheek area, and really tightening and toning the contour of the cheek here. So you can go a little bit above the cheek, dragging upward right under that eye. You can meet right where you kind of started on the last one. Everything is up to your client's facial structure and what feels best for you. So once you finish in the cheek area, you really can just keep that one probe grounded, and then I like to drag, depending on their eye shape, you're going to drag in downward motions, which you never really want to go down. That's not a best description of it, but you want to go in towards the center of the eye and the center of the face to really combat those smile lines. Beck, will you give me a little smile? So you can see here how hers go up and then down, and you want to be able to combat that. You can also drag and do like a little drag and hold here to really lift and remove any of those deeper lines in the crow's feet area. And then once you're in the center of the face, you want to make sure you're doing no pressure around those eyes, and always asking your client if they're having any sensations, any flashing lights or anything.
No.
No? Okay. Also totally normal if you're not. If they are experiencing them, you just want to make sure that they're comfortable. So we can go up and drag upward towards the temple for 6 as well. Again, no pressure here. You don't want to do anything that's going to push down on the skin. Always lifting and pulling upward. And again, we'll just drag here and do a little hold in this area to really combat any of the fine lines that are going downwards from smiling. Everybody's different. Some people are going to have more downward motion of their lines, and some people are going to have them more going in an upward position. So just always being aware of what your client's facial structure looks like. After we do the under eye, you can go ahead and bring your probe to the top here. She has a little bit of extra skin on that top. You don't ever want to put pressure on the eyeball area, so as long as you're on the brow bone, you can have one rested right above. You can just drag upward toward the center of the brow and the center of the face. You want to be careful that you're not creating more of a line here. So really just doing nice light motions. Also can do a pinch and hold in this area, so there's definitely many different ways to work that eye. Really lifting the brow bone, and this is great for lifting the whole eye shape. And it looks like I'm doing some pressure. I do have a tiny bit of pressure, but it's not much at all. You feeling okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, now that we finished in the eye area on both sides, we're gonna go ahead and start in the forehead. I like to start right in that center in the third eye area and really just kind of dragging in little almost X's. You can do one at a time and do a hold. You can also do both at the same time. Does tend to mess up your Q-tips a little bit more, so just as long as you're aware of all of those things and your client is comfortable. In the forehead is where they can get that little bit of a popping sensation. Some people tell me it's kind of like popcorn going off. Totally normal. Some people feel absolutely nothing. And then sometimes people, like I said, feel like their hair is almost just kind of being played with at the end. So all completely normal. Making sure that those brows that we lifted are nice and even as well. I feel like this one could use a little bit more. And you can also use the forehead to utilize that. So we're just going to go ahead and drag from that center of the forehead and meet to the one probe for the starting of the tightening and toning of the fine lines up in the more large part of the forehead, I should say. So you're going to go ahead and drag from there across, and then I like to really utilize that brow and just kind of pull and lift up on that area again. You can do a little bit diagonal, you can go a little bit more forward. Everybody's face structure is going to be different, so whatever. Some people have a very short forehead and you'll only be working this much. Some people have a little bit more, so you can really extend up into the hairline. And as you go, you can get a little bit more angular. Nothing wrong with it not being on a complete angle as well, as long as you are really pushing through those fine lines and lifting. You can do pinch and holds right in the lines, like on the line that you'll see. You can do a little bit of separating, not by pushing down, but having one probe more, sturdy there, and then pulling upward. And then in the ends of the forehead, I do like to go kind of from the crow's feet and working in that area again. It never hurts to be, re-stimulating areas that you already worked to tighten in different directions in different ways. So really just want to make sure that we're tightening and toning as much as we can in all areas of the face. So after working with the small probes, we're going to start with the large and making sure your wiring is in the right place. You don't want it to be, where you're stuck, and you also don't want them to be dragging on the clients. I like to have them around my wrists like that, so the inside's nice and tight. We'll start in the neck area. You can kind of just drag one up to the cheek and then have the other one go ahead and meet. They are more heavy duty, so you want to make sure you're really aware of your pressure here, constantly making sure that the client feels good. You don't want to hit like collarbone with large probe because you don't want to hurt anybody. So just going ahead and making sure that everything feels nice and comfortable, and going up for about 4 to 6. And you're getting a lot more area covered here. So you really only need to go on the neck, like, okay, the front area, closer toward the center of the face, and then closer towards that ear, and really dragging up and away. As I'm doing that, I can lift that skin here to tighten and tone the whole neck and cheek area in one. From there, you can just drag around and down like we did before, around that chin. And then you can stay at the cheek, or you can kind of drag downward and then go on that bit of an angle. And things get a little bit more difficult when you have such a large probe. You might want to switch your grounding and then kind of switch to the other for that diagonal pull. As long as both are on the skin, that's all that really, really matters. Okay. We'll do a little pinch and hold here. Feeling good, Beck?
Yep.
Okay. And then we'll move on. Once we finish in the chin area, you can end with one of those little drags up toward the ear together. We'll go right around the mouth and kind of do exactly what we did with the small probes, just going right through those bottom smile lines, working anything in the lower chin area, really lifting to tighten this area. You can do a little hold here. Feeling any more sensations, Becky?
No.
No? No salvation or anything like that?
Maybe a little metal taste.
A little metal taste? Okay. Very normal. And I just want to do here for 6. We just did finish that. So after we finish here, I like to kind of just go right into that top lip, and you don't want to put a lot of pressure and you don't want to get a lot of gel on that top lip. So you want to be very careful. Work a little bit more slowly in this area just to kind of drag those smile lines out and upward. You can go upward a little bit. You just want to be very aware of your pressure with the large probes. And I'll do a little hold here where she's got a little bit more tightness in the corners of the mouth. And then we pretty much go right into the cheek area. After we work the mouth, we're going to continue to work the mouth and the cheeks at the same time. And we're going to do exactly like we did with the small probes. Start at the lower part of the chin, through the bottom smile lines, really fighting the jowls. And then we'll go in the tighter little area here, working in the more central part of the face. And you can make this all in one. You can do right around the eye and really lift up and drag in through there. There's no set in stone ways to go about it as long as you're lifting and tightening and eliminating those fine lines. After we finish with the large on the cheek area, we can just go ahead and put this guy right in the center and work again in those smaller areas. You want to be very careful of your pressure with the large probes. You don't even have to bring it as close to the eye as you did with the small, just working what we can. And this guy's almost hovering. He's barely on the skin. When I say this guy, I mean this grounding probe. Kind of just hovering here, not pushing down. And then you can drag back upward. You can keep your grounding probe where it's at if it feels more comfortable for you, or you can switch to the brow bone area and then drag here. So that way you're not really worrying about pressure as much. You can drag it a little bit on there and then lifting that brow bone as well. It's good to just kind of do one lift at a time. You can lift at the same time as toning, depending on what your client really needs. They might need a lot of love around the eyes. You can totally lift while eliminating fine lines. And that's the eye. Okay, so we're going to start in the forehead area here. We can take our probes and you can turn them so they're on their flat point, flat surface. We'll do like a little hold here, or little X's like we did before. Just pulling up on that skin. And then our gel's starting to get a little bit more dry, which is totally normal at this point. So you want to make sure that you kind of redistribute it out. And then lifting in those angular, because the forehead muscles are on an angle. So you do want to be kind of aware of that you are going in that same angular direction. But again, you can go up. You can take your probes and go sideways like this, just as long as we're not resting on those temples. You want to cut yourself a little short and making sure that you're really stimulating the whole forehead area. You can do little rolls with your probes as long as you have both on the skin for a moment and you're getting that stimulation. And I am pulling up with my grounding probe, so I am giving a little bit of a pull here. How's that pressure feel, Becky?
Good.
Totally fine?
Yep.
Good. And the forehead's a really tricky area to work because you can see people are very expressional. Even when she just responded, you know, she's going to go ahead and lift up those eyebrows, which is totally normal. That's what a lot of people do, and that's why it's a little bit more of a difficult area to work. So you just want to make sure that you're giving it enough time and spending enough love in that area. And there's many ways that you can work it. You can rework those brow bones again and really pulling up. You can rest on the fine lines in this direction or in this direction. But as long as you're going upward, hitting those different target areas, starting with diagonals, doing that pinch and hold, and really just targeting everything in the forehead, because again, everybody's going to be different. Everyone's fine lines are going to be different on the forehead, and so is the shape. So as long as you're working and feeling that you're getting a lot of the surface area covered and lifted, then you're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and start with the gloves, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did pretty much with the large and small probes. You're going to start in the neck area and just really working upward in massage-like motions, dragging the muscles up and redirecting and educating that skin to tighten and tone. You can do about passes of 6 here. I do kind of like to go past the cheeks, past the jawline into the cheeks. Really just tightening and toning that all out. And then I'll take my thumbs here and get them engaged as well. And I always ask my client when you're kind of starting off, is that feeling okay?
Yes.
And then they will let you know how they're feeling. So the gloves, you can have a little bit more stimulation with them sometimes. I'd say they're about equivalent to the large probes though. So I'm just dragging around the mouth, really lifting this area, tightening and toning in here. You can do that little pinch and hold again. This is a good little area to kind of work in a massage-like motion. Lifting anything here. If you have a client who has a little bit more fine lines in the chin, a little bit more in this area, you can always kind of do like a holding, not down, but to eliminate the fine lines. And then pulling up and around. You can do one finger and then meet here. You can do one finger all the way around and meet at the front. I like to do little half moons and then connect the top. Doing a little hold here. Pulling away. And you're really just doing the same motions that we did with the small and large probes over again. It is just more massage-like with the hands and a little bit easier to manipulate certain areas of the face, especially in that forehead. You can really feel the fine lines and kind of feel them dragging away. Versus with the probes, you only have no stimulation that you can actually tell what's being worked. With this, I can really feel that, okay, there's a little couple indentations here that I want to work a little bit more. You can even do like little spreading motions with the gloves. Working that area in here, a little bit more massage-like as well. And with the cheeks, I really do just kind of drag up and around and making sure that you're not stopping on the temple, but a little bit under, a little below. You could do one side at a time and kind of drag away. Have one here if you're ever worried about working the temples too much. Just keeping one grounded and doing the other in that diagonal motion, really carving out those cheekbones at the same time. On the neck area, you can kind of drag downwards and kind of hold those little lines of where the neck and shoulders meet. And just do a little hold here. And up and around and continue and just really kind of finish them off with that massage-like motion, going all over the facial areas. And you want to work with the gloves for about 10 minutes. So all of the areas we just targeted, you're going to work for about 3 minutes each, really stimulating that skin to tighten and tone. So to remove your gel, you're just going to make a little tent with your towel and then go ahead and really let that kind of settle in there to soak up and absorb some of that moisture and the gel. Just take my little hands and remove everything from the forehead up, down, and around. You want to make sure that you're not doing too much pressure to create anything that we were just, eliminating, but also enough pressure to really remove that gel. After we use the large towel to remove, I'll go back in with a little bit of cleanser and a little bit of water, and we will go ahead and further remove any residue that's going to be remaining on the skin and remove that with a small washcloth.